and bring justice for Dharun. You all can understand what he's going through, how he is, whatever like people out there want to make him.
Sorry for what happened, but we cannot waste one more life.
When people commit a crime, they should be punished.
What he was doing was deliberate, and he planned it, he thought it out, and he was planning on doing it again.
Welcome back. Now, sentencing for Dharun Ravi, it's scheduled for Monday. We'll have complete coverage of it, of course. But the sentencing is already causing a deep split in the media community and beyond. Some say, hey, convicted, of course he should be doing prison time. And others saying, wait a second, this is much too harsh. I mean, think about the last conversation we were having. It's very possible that Mrs. Zimmerman could walk free here, but Dharun Ravi could do real time up to even 10 years, conceivably, for his actions, even though there was no direct violence that he put forward on his then roommate. Now, the ex-Rutgers student, Mr. Ravi, found guilty on all counts in March after spying on his roommate in the midst of an intimate encounter with another man, then broadcasting it and making sure there was an audience for the broadcast, all online. 18-year-old Tyler Clementi, he took his own life just days after learning that he had been spied on and his encounter then broadcast online. Sentencing, it is scheduled to begin in Middlesex County at 9 a.m. Monday morning at the courthouse. And Vice One's Christy Duffy has been covering the trial from the very beginning, and she takes a look back at where this story began.
Early online conversations with friends show the skepticism Dharun Ravi and Tyler Clementi had for one another. Ravi grew up not far from the Rutgers campus, outgoing and ready for the college lifestyle, while Clementi was a shy, accomplished violinist from Ridgewood, Bergen County. He had just come out to his parents days before heading off to start his freshman year. But only days into living together in the small RU dorm, things took a turn, as Clementi started inviting over a guest we know only as MB.
Guy that came into Tyler's room was older. He was older, significantly maybe older, like maybe not a Rutgers student. So
you said that was crazy, right?
Yeah, scandalous.
Ravi trained his webcam on Tyler's bed.
He moved his computer like an inch.
More of Tyler's bed or less of Tyler's bed when it was moved an inch?
More.
What did you see?
That's when I saw the two people making out.
Watching for brief seconds at a time what was going on from elsewhere in the dorm, taking to Twitter to invite others to watch. Tyler found out and headed to the resident advisor to file a report.
I feel that my privacy has been violated, and I am extremely uncomfortable sharing a room with someone who would act in this manner.
Evidence showed Clementi checked Dharun's Twitter page obsessively in the days leading up to his death, one of the last things Tyler did before heading to the George Washington Bridge. Around the same time, Ravi sent his roommate a lengthy apology, but there's no telling for sure if Tyler ever got that message.
He possibly committed suicide.
Police moved in to investigate.
Because I was worried about what was going on in there.
So, is it safe to say you invaded his privacy?
Well, yes, but...
Okay. Let's really take a yes or no, it ain't a but.
Under intense interrogation, Ravi admitted on tape to spying. But did he target Tyler because he was gay?
Have you ever heard him say something negative or derogatory about homosexuality in general?
No.
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 Never.
Ravi rejected a plea deal from the prosecution team, landing him in the lengthy, near-month-long trial, drawing national media attention, his family and the Clementis sitting through every day of the testimony until the verdict came down.
We've reached the verdict on all charges.
And not guilty or guilty?
Guilty.
Ravi's attorneys since filed for an appeal, claiming it was an unfair trial and calling the state's bias intimidation law muddled, as did the judge.
It's not hateful. Not a bigot. At 18, he didn't have enough experience in life.
For Richard French Live, I'm Christy Duffy.
10 years, the judge could still give him.
All right, we're already getting into this debate here, and we started this last week, if you remember. Okay, help us out here, us lay folk. The judge obviously is getting a lot of opinions, unsolicited and otherwise, in terms of what justice should look like for Dharun Ravi. Let's remember that the prosecution offered a plea deal before this began, which was probation, no jail time, but he would be deported back to India. He came over here as, I think at the age of 3, Dharun Ravi. He said, no thanks, I'll take my chances, and he rolled the dice at trial, and we obviously saw what happened. What discretion does the judge have in deciding because obviously he was convicted of charges where the sentencing guidelines attached. What could the judge do or not do on Monday?
Well, the judge has an enormous amount of discretion here. There are statutory guidelines, and typically, if a judge stays within those guidelines, neither side is going to be able to appeal it successfully. But the judge can go outside the guidelines. He's highly unlikely to go above and sentence for more than 10 years. But if he decided to go below them and sentence probation, the prosecution could appeal, but even then, it's unlikely that it would happen.
The likelihood of something happening, because a lot of people say, and I think the perfect context is what we were talking about before, what happened in Florida with the Trayvon Martin case, and the possibility, some say the distinct possibility, that there'll be no jail time in that case where there was obviously a physical confrontation. In this case, where through technology we saw tragedy and bullying and whatever we want to say, they said, wait a minute, you know, this kid, he doesn't look, he doesn't sound like the person who should be going to a real serious bad place here for up to 10 years. But if they gave him probation when the kid turned it down and took his chances at trial, you got to think the prosecution is going to say, well, why do we even bother going through this?
Well, I think what the judge is going to do is look at the charges that he was convicted of, and they're fairly serious crimes. Yeah. The breach of privacy, destroying evidence or tampering with evidence, intimidation based on bias. And so even though the death, the suicide doesn't play into this, they in themselves are fairly serious crimes. And there's always the possibility the judge is going to be remembering this led to a death, and therefore just based on those specific crimes, it would be very typical to have at least a few years in prison.
All right. And real quickly, guys, I'm already over it, but 10 seconds apiece here. What would you like to see the judge do, Andrew?
Moderate sentence for the invasion of privacy and for the other charges, but
some jail time, but not a lot.
But not for the bias. Not for the bias.
Dom?
I don't know how you exclude the bias, but I would say maybe considering I don't believe he's had any involvement with law enforcement before, a couple of years in prison, but he must go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for both families' heart goes out. Very complex situation, and I hope that the judge takes that into account.
Don't you sound like Solomon? All right. All right, everybody. Watch our extended coverage of the sentencing right here on RNN TV and Fios One News. Professor Andrew Dominic, you guys got an early Friday here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.